Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This session focuses on the role of learners, teachers, and materials in whole language method. I hope and expect by the end of this session, you would have an understanding of the positioning of the learners and the teachers, as well as some knowledge of the nature of the materials that are used in whole language method that is used for language teaching. Well, as far as the role of the teacher is concerned, the role of the teacher is of a facilitator. Teacher is an active participant in the learning community rather than an expert who would just pass on knowledge. So together with the students or the learners, the teacher would co-create knowledge instead of passing on knowledge to them as a superior to them. The teacher teaches the students not the subject matter and looks for the occurrence of teachable moments rather than following a pre-planned lesson plan or script. So this gives a kind of flexibility to the whole method. The teacher creates a climate or an environment that will support collaborative learning in the class, where the teacher and the learners together would be involved in various activities to produce or to create language. Thus, the teacher has the responsibility of negotiating a plan of working with the learners as well. So it is not the teacher in whole language method who would decide what is to be taught in the class or what kind of activities are to be run in the class. Rather, in collaboration with and with through the process of negotiation with the learners, the teacher would plan. As far as the role of the learner is concerned, the role of learner is not of the passive recipient of knowledge that is passed on by the teacher. Rather, the role of the learner is of a collaborator, collaborating with fellow students, collaborating with the teacher, and also collaborating with the texts and the writers of the texts. So in this process of collaborating, actually, the learner plays a collaborative role of creating the knowledge of language. Students are also evaluators, evaluating their own and others' learning with the help of the teacher. So the learner basically is self-directed of his or her own learning experiences that are used as resources for learning. And based on those experiences, the student or the learner can suggest what he or she or what they as a group want to be brought into the class as a learning point or as an activity. Students are also selectors of the learning materials and activities, as I have mentioned earlier. Choice is vital in a whole language class because without the ability to select activities, materials, and conversational partners, the students cannot use language for their own purposes. And in a whole language classroom, learners are encouraged to actively participate in all these activities. As far as the nature of the materials that are used in the whole language classroom are concerned, whole language instruction advocates the use of real-world materials rather than the commercial texts that are artificially created. A piece of literature is an example of real-world materials in that its creation was not instructionally motivated, which means it was not designed specifically to be used as an instructional material or to be used in the class. Rather, it was written otherwise, but resulted from the author's wish to communicate with the reader. So, a kind of real-life association of the text with the real world is important. Other real-world materials are brought to the class by the students in the forms of newspapers, signs, handbills, storybooks, printed materials from the workplace in the case of adults, etc. And these real-life materials not only enable the activities to be in the whole language classroom to be based on or to be closer to the real life, but also the students or the learners, they find themselves more connected with these activities. Well, students also produce their own materials, which is very interesting in the case of whole language method. Rather than purchasing pedagogically prepared textbooks, they would come up with their own prepared or written materials, and schools make use of class sets of literature, both fictional and non-fictional, for these purposes.